Hello MUS 2020 students. This is a quick video tour of Ableton Live to help you get started. When you open Live, you'll see a screen that looks pretty similar to mine. There is a difference in that I'm using the full suite version, while most of you will be using Intro, and some of you might have Standard. To hopefully avoid any confusion, I've created a collection of all of the Intro devices, and will only be using those in videos in this class. They are flagged, as you can see, with teal squares, which is the same color as Live Intro. This first screen that I'm on is the session view. At the top of the screen are controls. Up here we have controls for tempo and for quantization. This is how fast your piece is and how it syncs up clips. In the center of the top area is a timecode box, followed by playback and recording controls. Next are controls for punching in and out and for looping, although we really aren't going to be using those in this class. Finally, you have controls for draw mode, for computer MIDI keyboard, key and MIDI map, and the all-important monitors for CPU and disk usage. If those last two get too high, you're going to hear pops in your audio, so try and keep them below 90% at all times. On the left is the browser window. This is where all of your instruments, MIDI devices, audio effects, clips, and loops are stored. You can navigate through the menu system or up in the search box, where you can just easily start typing the name of something and Ableton will search for it for you. You can also easily grab content by packs, 5 of which, Chop and Swing, Designer Drums, Digicussion 1, Loop Masters Mixtape, and Unnatural Selection, are included in Live Intro. And you can easily download any available packs or updates by checking Available Packs down at the bottom of the Packs menu. This large area that takes up most of the center is the Clip and Device area. Starting on the left, your default session has 2 MIDI tracks and 2 audio tracks. You can have up to 16 tracks total in Ableton Live Intro. This can be any mix of MIDI and audio tracks. Over on the right, you have 2 return tracks which hold effects that you want to apply to multiple audio or MIDI tracks. And furthest to the right, you have a master output. Each track or channel, by default, has 8 slots for clips, which can be recorded or triggered by pressing the square button in each slot. However, in the master channel, you have scenes. This triggers playback across all clips in the same row, assuming there is a clip there. Back to the channel. At the bottom of the channel strip under the clips, you have a Stop Clip button. This is really important because if you have a clip that keeps going and playing, you might need to stop it manually. Next to that, you have a clip status that shows you how far and where you are in each clip. And then on the master channel, you have the all-important Back to Arrangement button, which we'll discuss later. Just know what it looks like right now. A play button with 3 horizontal lines. This will be very important later. Below that, you have input-output selection of each track, which lets you specify where the MIDI or audio data is coming from into the track. When in doubt, set MIDI from to all ins and all channels, and audio from to external 1. Monitor should usually be set to auto, and the output should go to the master channel. Below this, you have the send knobs. These are going to send audio to the return tracks, which will process that audio with any of the effects that you've put on that track, and then return them to the individual tracks. Finally, at the bottom of the channel strip, you have the all-important controls. The knob controls the panning. That's the position of the audio on the left or on the right side of your headphones. The vertical fader controls the volume. Up is louder, down is softer. Since this is set as a professional audio workstation, it goes from -60 up to 0. You don't have to know what that is, but if you do want to, please email me and I'll explain it. The glowing yellow track number enables the track when it's glowing and mutes it when it's off. S solos the track, which mutes everything else. Very useful if you want to work on only one track at a time. Finally, you have the Record Arm button. This, when selected, arms a track for recording and will record audio or MIDI to that track if you press the record button up in the top of the transport. You've probably noticed that on the MIDI track, some of these options, like sends, pan, and volume, are missing. This is because there's nothing to record to yet. However, if I grab a MIDI device and drop it in the track, we'll use Simpler and Simplest Piano. All of a sudden, I now have controls showing up for send, pan, volume, and down here in the detail view at the bottom of the screen, I have controls for the device itself. Very, very useful. I can record arm the track, and now if I press a note on my MIDI keyboard, you should be able to hear it play. Now, if I did not have a MIDI keyboard, I could go up here to the upper right corner, and I could turn on the computer MIDI keyboard. I left it on from my last session, so it's currently on already. But if it's not glowing yellow, you just have to hit the M key on your keyboard to toggle it. And then I can play it using the row from A through L to correspond to the white keys on the keyboard, and then W through O corresponding to the black keys. If I need to go up to a higher octave, I can hit X. Or if I want to go to a lower octave, I can hit Z. Very, very useful, but we'll talk about that more in detail later. Right now, I'm going to show you how to record a clip. Since this track is armed for recording, you'll notice that the clip buttons have turned into little circles. If I click on a circle, it will let me record a clip. And then I can hit spacebar to stop. Now this is different from hitting the record button. Hitting the record button actually recorded into the timeline, which if I hit the tab key, you can see. Now, in that, we'll get to that in a second, but you can see that it's grayed out. That is because I need to hit back to arrange. Having done that, I can double click on the stop button and then hit play, and you can hear my clip. At the very bottom of the screen, I have device and clip view. If I want to look at an individual clip, I can select that clip, or in the clip view, and then hit Shift and Tab to change between what's being shown. So here is the MIDI data that I've recorded into clip number 1. And Shift Tab again will take me back to my device. So I could either inspect the device and change a parameter, or I could edit the actual MIDI data of the clip. To the left of that is the hints view. This is a very, very useful thing as it shows the hints for various parameters in Live. For example, if I want to know what this loop button is that's currently glowing, I can hover my mouse over it and it tells me the function of that particular button, that it turns on a loop or turns off the loop. Back to the arrangement, you can see that there's a completely different view. Now, with the arrangement, this is where I would arrange clips or record directly into the arrangement in Live. This is where I would arrange ideas to form larger pieces, but we'll talk about that later. In addition to using the Tab key to change between views, you'll also notice that I have these buttons up here in the upper right-hand corner. The 3 vertical lines correspond to the session view, and the 3 horizontal lines correspond to the arrange view. And I can click between those or use the Tab key. This is a lot to take in, so play around and review the video as needed. The Learn Live 10 videos for setting up an audio interface, setting up MIDI, configuring audio ins and outs, if you have multiple ins and outs on an interface, installing packs, and setting your preferences are the next things to look at. These will help you get you up and running. As always, email me if you have any questions. Good luck!